Hello and welcome to On the Bench, the weekly sports discussion show for Lincolnshire and East Yorkshire right here on Estuary TV. As always on the show tonight, we'll be bringing you a roundup of the weekend results from our regional clubs and discussing some of the big news stories that have been hitting the headlines this week. We're delighted to be joined in the studio by the chairman of Cleethorpes Rugby Club, Mr Kevin Davidson, and none other than the Humber King himself, the legendary swimmer Pete Winchester. Thank you both for joining us on the show. Also coming up on the show tonight, Tom Reid will be taking your questions in A View from the Estuary, and Matt Denson tried his hand at indoor bowls with the Louth and District Indoor Bowling Club. I think it's fair to say he was pleasantly surprised with this one. Stay tuned for that. But first, let's round up with the weekend's action. Here's Team Talk. Grimsby Town will host either Tamworth or Chorley in the FA Trophy quarter-finals after beating Maidenhead, with Joe Colbeck and Sean Pearson getting the goals for Town. Tonight it's Squirrel Premier action as Grimsby travel to the Lawn to face Forest Green Rovers. North Ferriby recorded another impressive win in the competition, this time at Sincil Bank against Lincoln. A brace from Liam King plus goals from Ryan Kendall and former Mariner Nathan Jarman, giving them a 4-0 victory. In the FA Trophy, they play Gosport Borough at Church Road. In the Premier League, after a handsome 6-0 win in Hull City's last game against Fulham at the KC Stadium, despite a resilient showing, it was in vain as the Tigers were defeated by strikes from Eden Hazard and Fernando Torres. In other results from the region, Scunthorpe go 2 points clear at the top of League 2 with a 2-0 win over Mansfield. Brigtown draw 2-2 with Hallsend Town. Cleethorpes Town beat Louth Town 3-1 and Grimsby Borough lost 2-0 to Ecclesfield United. In ice hockey, another win for Hull Stingrays. They beat Braehead 4-3. In hockey, Grimsby Ladies' first team beat Burton Pidsey 8-2, and in rugby union, Sleaford beat Grimsby 27-5. Market Raisin and Louth beat Newark 33-15, and Cleethorpes lost to Long Eaton 5-3. More from that game later on in the programme. Another topsy-turvy weekend for our regional clubs, but a special mention for North Ferriby United and Grimsby Town, who both progressed to the quarter-finals of the FA Trophy. Well done to both teams there. Now turning our attention to our guests. First of all, what an honour it is to have a record holder in the studio. Thanks to Pete for coming in. Pete, if for viewers that don't know about your achievements, can you just explain what it is you're doing here on the bench?
I'm here to explain why I swam 70 times across the River Humber.
Well, hopefully in a few minutes I'll be able to sort of understand all of that, because for me, 70 times to do that, never mind one time, I don't think I could even do it. So you're swimming from Spurn Point to whereabouts?
To Brighton Street Slipway, or Spurn Point to Grimsby Docks, or Grimsby Docks to Spurn Point, and on one occasion from Hessel Foreshore, across the river, down the river, into Grimsby Dock Basin.
Okay, so that's not a mean feat. That's kind of a pretty big challenge for anybody. What is it that made you get in the water that first time and go, this is what I'm going to do? What inspired you?
To swim the Humber?
Yeah.
I was inspired by Brenda Fisher's exploits in 1951, swimming the channel and breaking the world record. And also a lady called Joyce Finch, who was pretty famous for swimming across the Humber. And I always fancied it.
I always fancy a pizza, but I don't always have one. So what made you get in the water the first time, the second time, and up to 70 times? Because I've heard a little birdie say that you said you were going to stop after 50 times. You said you were going to stop after 60, and you've reached 70. So what kind of spurred you on all those years?
I did say, actually, after 5 times, I think that's good. It'll be a record, it'll stay. I did say that. But my mates at the swimming club kept conning me to go for another 5 and another 5 and like this and like that. And all the time, I was raising money for different worthy occasions. So I suppose I got a kick out of that. And then people were asking me to do it for these occasions, and I suppose that's it, and it snowballed.
Pulling the heartstrings, and I suppose you'll get in your trunks again.
Yeah.
So what training do you have to do before a swim like that? Because how far is it generally on average?
In a straight line from Spurn Point to Cleethorpes is about 7.5 miles.
Okay.
But my last swim, my 70th swim, I easily covered 15 miles, because it's the way the tide takes you. You know. Just to give you a bit of an example, I've been as fast as 2 hours and 2 minutes, and I've been as slow as 5 hours and 47 minutes.
And that all depends on the tide and the
Yes.
weather conditions and everything. That must be quite a health and safety risk for you as well, physically for you, and also, you know, in terms of your physical state, but also you don't know what's going to be out there, what the conditions are going to be. How do you prepare for that?
Well, I train twice a week, always in Grimsby Docks, all the way through the winter, every Sunday through the winter. Not this year because we've got changes been going on at the docks,
Slacking.
so gives us a
About
bit of a
that.
respite. But I train every Sunday. Other people with me, you know, we break the ice or do what we've got to do, and we go in, you know.
An icebreaker to me is a conversation starter, not physically breaking the ice. So I am in awe of you, Pete, definitely. And just quickly tell me how much you've raised for all these different charities over the last 36 years.
I've raised it easily, well over £200,000, easy.
Wow, that is pretty impressive. So congratulations on everything you've achieved, and I'm sure you'll find something to fill your void going forward, whether it be swimming or something else. So good luck with everything. Next up on the show, Tom Reed is here to answer your questions from A View from the Estuary.
Hello and welcome to this week's View from the Estuary, with plenty of your questions coming in again. What do you think of Grimsby Town's new signing, Jamal Fifield? I think it's a great signing for the club. If you look at Fifield's stats, he started his youth career at Leyton Orient. He had a scholarship there, so from a young age he's got experience and professional sort of training and coaching there. He won promotion as well with York City in the 11-12 season. So in that regard, it's exactly what Grimsby Town need. They want promotion. Fifield's been there, done that, got the t-shirt, got the armbands. So he knows what to do in a defensive role to get promotion. He's only 24 as well. He's 25 shortly in March. So he's not a youngster anymore. He has got experience. He's got over 150 non-league appearances for several clubs. He's actually scored a few goals along the way as well, so he could chip in that way to the team. So I think it's a good signing for Grimsby, and hopefully his experience and his efforts in defence will, you know, give them the push they need to get to the final in the FA Trophy, hopefully, and then maybe promotion come May. So I think it's a good signing as well. It's got a good deal there, Paul Hurst. Will Jelovic's move to Hull benefit the club and player? For a mid-table side such as Hull, I think Jelovic is a great addition to the team. Obviously, he's got experience at Everton, who were, you know, competing top 5, top 6 when he was there. He was prolific as well. He was scoring a lot of goals for Everton, and that's a hard team to score goals in. You know, the competition in the team is difficult. He's come in, he's scored a lot of goals from abroad. So I think Hull, being the mid-table side they are, that's a great addition. Obviously, his career dried up at Everton slightly. He's not had the best, you know, past season or so. So I think if he comes to Hull, it's going to benefit him as a player because he can restart his career, reignite his goal scoring for the team. And obviously it's going to benefit Hull as well because, as me and Stu said in previous episodes, they could do with a striker who could get them 15 goals a season, and I think Jelovic is that man. With Jessica Ennis taking time out, will she come back as strong and competitive as her previous efforts? Obviously I'm not a woman, so I can't sort of fully understand what it does to her body having that time out as an athlete, but Paula Radcliffe has done the same thing. She took time out and she come back, you know, she thought too quickly, and she didn't have the best career afterwards. She wasn't on top form. So the advice she's given to Jessica Ennis is take the right amount of time out, do the right things, look after yourself, and then you can come back as competitive and as strong as previous tournaments and previous games. So I think if Jessica Ennis does that, she looks after herself, she can come back just as strong and just as competitive. Paula Radcliffe also said it gives you an emotional boost and a physical boost as well, motherhood apparently. So if you take that into account, I think Jessica Ennis can come back and she can be just as strong, if not stronger. Well, that's all for this week. You can send your questions on Twitter at AskEstuary, and I could be answering your question next week.
Thanks, Tom. Remember, if you want to send Tom a question, you can tweet him at AskEstuary, and if you want to get in touch with us here in the studio, you can tweet us at On The Bench TV. Got to go for a quick break, but join us again in part 2. Welcome back to the show. We're joined in the studio by Humber King Pete Winchester and the chair of Cleethorpes Rugby Club, Kev Davidson. Kev, a tough defeat at Long Eaton on Saturday. Do you think it was a fair result for the performance?
The guys did really well. I've spoke to the coaches and they should have had a win really. They scored a try in the last few minutes. We have an opportunity to kick a penalty. inside her own half and it hit the uprights, unfortunately. Also, the game was delayed. It didn't play the full 80 minutes due to one of the Long Eaton guys breaking his leg in 2 places. So
How selfish.
Best of wishes to them. But we think we could have turned it over there. So it was a good game. The coaches are really happy how they performed.
Yeah, so maybe a case of circumstances more than performance.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, they defended well throughout, apparently. And I've no reason to doubt that. And that they've played really well as a team, as a collective group through the whole of the season, really.
Good. So how's your season going so far? Because you're currently 7th in the league.
Yep.
But home, you're playing quite a bit better than away. So what do you think's kind of missing there? Anything, or is it just, again, circumstantial?
They're not playing any differently. The downside of playing away is quite a big region that we're playing in. The kick-off's at 2:15 because the nights are dark, and a lot of the guys work. We're not a professional side. We're not a semi-professional side. So unfortunately, if the people finish work at midday or later, they're unable to travel some of the journeys over 3.5 hours. So
it's a case of bodies and kind of people, manpower, I suppose.
Yeah, and we also have 2 teams that we need to fulfil sides for the players for. So just because one team's going away, we might have another team at home. On the back of that, we have a second team at the top of the American League. So while we've got the first team in the middle of the division, we've got the second team at the top of American League, and there's no reason why they shouldn't go on and win that.
Oh, brilliant. So quite a successful season for the club so far.
Absolutely, yeah.
How are the juniors going as well? Because that's quite a positive story as well in terms of...
Yeah, the juniors are going really well. We've got an under-18 teams, a ladies team this season. 5 or 6 of those are playing for the 3 counties, and one of those has been selected for regional trials. So
that's brilliant.
That's a big positive, really. On the back of that also, we've got the younger boys that are also playing for NLD. I think we've got half a dozen that are playing for NLD for the boys. Two of them actually had to leave the clubs because of playing at much higher standards. Managed to develop them to a high level, and they do it at the Leicester Tigers Academy. So that's really good as well. So
yeah,
all
so
positive
really
notes,
successful as juniors and through to seniors.
Yeah.
How can people get involved in the club? Because you do welcome people from
Absolutely,
all abilities and all ages.
For the seniors, if they want to come down and train, we're down Wilton Road, just down there. Turn up on a Thursday night at 6:30. For the juniors, that's anybody under the age of 17. Yeah. If they want to turn up, same venue on a Sunday morning at 10:30, and we'll take registration and we'll introduce them to the various age groups there. That's
perfect.
Great.
That sounds great. Thank you very much for letting us know about Cleethorpes Rugby Club.
Thank you.
Well, as fans of the show will know, we like to send our reporter Matt Denson out to try his hand at all manner of sports in our local region. And when we gave him this next task, I think it was fair to say he somewhat underestimated the challenge. Here he is, trying his hand at indoor bowls with the Loutham District Indoor Bowls Club.
Very, very different tonight. We've been invited to come along here in Louth to the Loutham District Indoor Bowling Club, where they've set a challenge for us. How close to the jack can we get? I know nothing about this sport. I'm about to find out. They've set us a challenge. We've got a coach inside. Let's go and investigate. Bowls is a sport that can be traced back as far as the 13th century, but it's still very popular to this day. The aim of the bowls is simple. Get your bowls as close as possible to the small white ball called the jack. Now in principle that might sound easy, but as I soon found out, the bowls don't travel in a straight line, making this sport a serious tactical challenge.
The first thing you need to do is check your bias.
Okay.
Because if you got it the wrong way, your wood goes in the wrong direction.
Alright, okay.
The way you do that, find the small circle, you've got a big circle.
Yes.
Okay. Your small circle means that it goes that way.
Okay.
So you always need to check that before you send a wood. The way I do it, I just cradle it like that.
Quite heavy.
It is quite heavy. So yeah, then what you need to do is stand on your mat with your feet together.
Okay.
Face the way you're bowling, then take a step forward. I put my hand on my knee to balance myself.
Okay.
And then keep your arm parallel with your body. Focus at your aiming point, and then just send the wood.
It is good hand-and-eye coordination. People don't really think of it in that way, but to be honest, there's a lot more coordination and timing and mathematics about this sport that if people actually do apply themselves, they will be surprised. This particular club, we do have what's called a Ring 6, which is the cafeteria. And the cafeteria is open in the mornings until the late afternoons. They also do club meals, which is when a visiting team comes across to play us.
Surprised. That's how I'm going to summarise tonight. Surprised. I got a bowl near the jack. I didn't do too badly. I didn't show myself up. And I enjoyed myself. Very, very surprising. Check it out. Google it. Louth and District Indoor Bowls Club. Pfft, get yourself down.
If you've not tried indoor bowls, forget all your preconceptions, get down and give it a go. Matt hasn't stopped raving about it since he got back. Finally on the show, after Thomas Hitzelsberger revealed last week that he was gay, attention has now been firmly focused on the world of football and the stigma attached to players being able to feel comfortable enough to come out. Former Grimsby Town youth player Liam Davis, now at Gamester Trinity, has been speaking to the Grimsby Telegraph about how he hopes that more players will be able to feel comfortable enough to come out as gay and continue their careers as normal, just as they should be able to do. Pete, this is obviously a huge issue. Do you think that it should be in football, or do you think it's something that can be tackled?
In football, I feel sorry for these people. You know, it's entirely up to them to do as they like, and I don't think that anybody should give them any stigma. Sadly, they will get it from, especially for instance, if one of them scores a goal, and the opposing spectators don't like it. I'm sure that some bad stuff will come out of it. But I respect them.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Then there again, it's their business. I don't see why they should have to go around with a banner saying it. You know, it's entirely up to them. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah. And Kev, what's your opinion on this one?
I think individuals are individuals. If they feel it's right and proper that they come out and openly announce that. But there's also other individuals out there that won't be right for. And I think it's important for different people from different backgrounds to understand where they're at in any point in time. Maybe not to be afraid to come out if that's the case. However, how the family will react to it, and it's got to be managed in a certain way. If we're not careful, then they think that, oh, they're coming out, I'll do the same, and it can have a different impact to them.
I suppose it's a very personal choice, isn't it?
Absolutely,
whether you come out, publicly or not, it's entirely up to them. I mean, in terms of football and in other sports, we've seen it, like you say, Pete, in terms of minority of fans, there may be chance or there may be, abuse or anything like that. How do you think we can tackle that? Do you think there is a fair way to be able to punish them or, tackle that behaviour?
I think that the bad behaviour is down to ignorance.
Absolutely.
It's like Kev says, it's entirely up to the people themselves. I think that anybody who did carry on like that, they should be banned from the ground, the same as the ones who caused the other type of hooliganism. Yeah.
Okay. And Kev, are you in the same kind of agreement?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is it's bullying, it's harassment, and it's not fair to the players as individuals. Yep. It's possibly difficult to manage. However, I do think there's a responsibility from the clubs to manage it if they can manage it.
Absolutely. I think we're all in agreement with that one. So thank you very much for your viewpoints. Well, if you have a view on this story, remember you can tweet us at On The Bench TV. We'd love to hear from you. Sadly, that is all we've got time for this week. Thank you to Pete Winchester and Karen Davidson for joining us in the studio. Thanks to Louth and District Indoor Bowls Club, and thanks to you for watching. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.